Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Long. I'm the general manager at Cantata Health's Net Solutions division, and I'm here today with Laura Cartwright, RN and specialist in quality and education. Is that right, Laura?
That's right.
All right. And today we're going to be talking about how you got some CMP money and what you did with it. So before we get started, though, tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me how did you get into nursing and how did you get into long-term care?
Well, nursing's actually my second degree. I had a fine arts degree before that, and I just found it interesting and wanted to go back to school, so that's what I did, and I got my RN, and then I started working at the university hospital here in trauma, and then I just wanted to change the scene, so I actually became a state surveyor. And when I was a state surveyor, I learned all about CMP grants and how tons of states have just this bucket of money that nobody really uses. And ever since COVID happened, it's a lot easier to get that money. It's a lot easier to get those grants. So tapping into that was kind of the jumping off point for this.
You're the first person I've ever met that was a surveyor, and you're the first person I've ever met that went from fine arts to nursing. Can you tell me about, before we go into CMP, can you tell me about that for 1 second, like how that transition happened?
Yeah, so I went to high school. I was at it's called the Youth Performing Arts School, and it was all theater, and I did like set design, costumes, that sort of stuff. So I transitioned from high school to college, and I did interior architecture was my major. So I have my Bachelor of Fine Arts in that. So once I graduated, I went and I worked at Home Depot actually, and I designed kitchens and did all that stuff, but just wasn't fulfilling what I really wanted to do. I thought I could do more than that. So I have family members and people I know who were nurses, and I was like, let's give this a try. Let's see if it's something I like. And it was the best decision I ever made. So
That's fantastic. That's really, really good. That's kind of a crazy story to go from like Home Depot over to nursing.
yeah.
So you learned about CMP when you were a surveyor, and how did you find out about it being a surveyor?
So anytime a facility is fined for if the survey team goes in and they find that harm has occurred or there's an immediate jeopardy situation, that facility has to pay a fine. And that fine can be one set amount of money, or it can be based on how many days they were out of compliance. It just kind of depends. So over the years, that money just accumulates, and it goes into this interest-bearing account that the state holds that no one can touch. So the governors can't touch it. Nobody can mess with that money. The only way that money goes is to go back to the long-term care facility as a whole. So it goes back into the community, which is for the best. So you can write a grant and request it. And normally it has to be very intense. It's got to be, you have to be able to prove that you were trying to do something, and then evidence-based, you have to be going through it and making sure that you're tracking what you wanted to do, and then have outcomes at the end so that people can then look on that grant and say, oh, this was successful or this was not successful. But since COVID, all that money is still there, and there's a lot of need in the community, in long-term care communities. So one of those was technology needs. So that was a big part of why we went with this grant that we did. And there's another grant that was just released, I believe, last week. It was in September, and it is for visitation. So they're providing free money. All you have to do is ask for it, really, and follow the simple steps, and you get like tents. So you can do outside visitation. I think it was tents and like screens so that you can do safe outside visitation with families.
That's really cool. Is that like one of those hug screens?
I don't know if it's whatever you want. So that's what's cool about the CMP. As long as it falls in their qualifications and you can prove that it's safe, you get the manufacturer's information to show that it's a safe product, then you can use it.
Gotcha. So the way it's working right now, do you just have to follow their grant, or like if there's a grant out there, somebody wrote that grant and there's just money that you can pull off that grant? Is that right?
So CMS has put out like an emergency grant. So they make it very simple. There's a very simple form that you can get. You have to go through your state agency though. So whoever your state contact is available on the CDC website, or sorry, the CMS website, CDC. If you go on the CMS website, you can see who your grant representative is. You can contact that person and then they'll tell you exactly what to do. So like for Kentucky, it was right on our website. It said, technology grant, click here, and it just has you fill out whatever you wanted. So we chose iPads because we can FaceTime. A lot of our family members had iPhones. It was just an easy transition for us. So we got 8 iPads. All you had to do was fill out this form. It asked what technology you wanted, how much it cost. We got up to $3,000. So however you wanted to use that, you could get, a lot of people got iPads, but you could also get like adaptive equipment, like stylus, something so you're not touching it with your hands. You could get cases for the iPad, so it made it like easier to clean down. You could get the cleaning solution itself, whatever you wanted to use that $3,000 for. It just had to fall in the confines of those rules. You couldn't use it for things outside of that, but you could get like little mini cameras to do Zooms. You could do telehealth with it. So anything, you just had to prove it was for telecommunication for your residents.
Gotcha. That's really, really cool. So I'll go find some of those links for people, so we can post them in this blog article, so that they can just go ahead and start taking advantage of that. Have you seen any? What have been the outcomes so far for you?
So we have used it. We got 8, which is a lot. I mean, we're a 150 bed facility, but I mean that's still a lot to be able to use. And some of our residents can use them themselves, and then some need assistance. We have had COVID residents, and then we've kind of ebbed and flowed depending on our situation. But right now we don't have any, thankfully. But that was nice too, to have like one iPad that was dedicated to our COVID unit that nobody else could touch, and we're not moving it around. It just stayed there, but they could still visit, so that they're not missing that needed communication with their families and friends.
That's really good. That's a really, really good idea. So what were some of the other, did you have other ideas, other things that you were thinking about for the technology money?
Well, that was our biggest need, and it really was supposed to be for, like, if you read the grant requirements, it's really meant to be for residents to communicate. So telehealth was the other reason. So we had a nurse practitioner who was under investigation. She had been tested, but we weren't sure, but she still wanted to be able to work. She was asymptomatic, so she was working from home, and we were able to use that. She could look at the patient, ask questions of the patient, and see what was going on. She couldn't really do that full assessment that we could do, but there was a nurse right there who's saying, oh, their blood pressure is this, that, all of those assessment signs. So it was kind of like a teamwork thing where we're just ensuring safety by just using this device that we got for free. So that was a nice benefit.
That's really cool. When did you get them?
So I first heard about it in April. We got them April 29th was when I think April 29th or 30th was when we sent it to the state. We went ahead and bought it with our own money, and then they reimburse you. So we bought 8 iPads. I think they're 32 gig black iPads, and then we got some cases for them just to make them nice. And it was right at $29.50. It was like right on the cusp. But we got them as soon as they shipped to us. That was probably the hardest part, was because so many people are wanting iPads and stuff right now. It was finding a place that would send so many to us. Like, there was limits. You can only get 1 or 2 at a time. So we had to go through like a vendor who helps us with our computer IT stuff here. But we got 8 of them. We started using them, and then I think middle of May they sent us a check to reimburse us for that amount. So
okay, so about 6 weeks.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, great. That's fantastic. Have you had experience with anybody else who's gotten access to that money and anything that they've done?
Well, so we have a sister facility to the Clifton campus. It's a little up the road from us. So when we did the grant, if you have more than one group with you, like we're under the Nazareth home arch, so both of us, we order them at the same time. So I got 8 for this campus and 8 for that other campus. Gotcha. Okay, great. The same kind of way. And then The only other ways we're using them are now we're doing in-person visits. They've let us open up that phase for us, but of course it's still socially distanced. So we have some people, some residents who are hard of hearing. So we'll still put FaceTime on the phone with their family down the end of the table, and then they'll have the iPad there so they can still hear a little bit better. It helps like with the speaker amplification part of it, instead of having to, they're not looking at it, but they're hearing better, and they can turn the volume up a lot higher. Because 6 feet is a lot, especially for someone who's extremely hard of hearing and they can't read lips when they're that far away as easily. So that's kind of cool. They have to have masks on too. So there's a lot of workarounds we're trying to do to get it so that they can visit in person and see the people that they love and care about, but also be safe. So that's nice.
That's really good. That's really, really smart. I was going to ask, do you, with the iPads you got, do you sanitize them as well? Like, how do you clean them up? Like, you just wipe them down right now, or do you have some special process for that?
We have their anything that's alcohol 70% or higher is approved to kill COVID. We have Sani wipes, it's an antiviral wipe, but in between each use, we wipe them down. It has to sit for 2 minutes to be effective, and then we can use it. So we usually just store them and then wipe them down before we give them to somebody. And then after they're done, we wipe them down and just put them back. So.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Any other stories either of how you're using it, or have you heard of other companies that have done it and how they've done it and what's gone into it with the CMP money?
I know other people who have asked me about it and what we've done, but I don't know what their outcomes were or what they were doing specifically. But it's the most easy, amazing opportunity to get that in your building. And then when COVID is over, they don't take them away. You have those iPads or whatever you purchased for forever, so you can use them for your CNAs to document or whatever it is that you need them for. So they're great for now, and then you can always use them later. So it's just free money. So.
Perfect. That is fantastic. That is so good. And thank you so much for doing this interview so that we can tell everybody how to do this. I really, really appreciate it. I know that people all across the US are going to appreciate it as well.
Yeah.
So
we'll get the tents too. Get the tents, get the dividers. That's what we're working on right now. What would be best for us in our, layout of our parking lots and stuff like that? What would we need? But we have every intention of taking up that free money. It's free money. Like, why wouldn't you take it? So it's nothing to fill out the request. You got to figure out what you want, fill it out, purchase it, send it in. They send you a check. So, it's like a rebate, kind of.
That's fantastic. Before we wrap up, can you tell me about your facilities? Like where you're located, who you serve? Like, let's, we're doing this interview. Let's give you guys a shout out. So tell me a little bit about your facility.
I am at the Highlands campus. We're at Nazareth Home, and it was founded by the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth. So it is a Catholic-based facility. And then we have our sister campus, which is Clifton, which is over in another part of town. But we have a lot of sisters here, and fathers, and brothers and mothers, and we have a lot of clergy, families. But we also have all kinds of people. So we have a dementia unit, we have a traditional long-term care, we have rehab, and we have personal care. So we have lots of levels of care that we deal with, and they're all unique in their own way, and COVID has affected them all in their own way. So it's been a challenge working around all of that. But we have had COVID cases on both campuses, and that has been challenging too, but just trying to chug through it and so we can figure out and get it out of our community, and then we'll be much safer and happier.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, perfect. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate all of your time today. This was really, really, really helpful. Did you have anything else you want to bring up before we wrap it up?
Not really, no.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much. And I'm going to get this published out to everybody, hopefully this week. So look for it coming back out to that Facebook group, and look for it coming out, being emailed out to facilities across the U.S. So yeah, and people are going to thank you a lot for this, and I thank you.
I hope they use it.
Yeah, they will for sure. So thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks.